Steven,
Hello,
come on.
gentlemen. I finally have made it back. It's been too long.
Oh yeah?
It's been way too long. We've missed you.
Thank you. I missed you guys too.
I was attempting to listen to the Tim Ferriss episode.
Yeah.
I gotta say, it's a little brutish. Like he just comes at you. Just I don't know. I think Tim was really trying to help, like get him to simplify concepts and things, and he would just like information, and like it was hard for me to keep up. It sounds like you're much more in tune with a lot of that, which I am not. But
Well, I don't know. Tuning is the right, but like he felt like the whole time I was like, feel like in my head screaming at my computer, listening to the thing. Cause I'm like, Vervaeke, you have to, and I just like the best I could describe it was like this guy instead of unwinding through his Christianity unbelief through the Latin and Roman to the Greeks, he just jumped academically to the Greeks and is now trying to poke his way back into the like Latin thought of it all, right? And like getting at that ecology of ideas and the Mas Morum. So the whole time I'm just like, you're an intellectual, you're an educator, you're a prestigious person. How do you not? I don't know. Yeah, it was fun.
I don't have a lot of academic background in the space, but I was listening to the podcast in the car with my wife on a recent car journey while the kids were sleeping, and yeah, there was like at one moment Tim was literally like, "Can you explain this to me like I'm five?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "Well, the epistemology of the like lived experience." And I'm like, "That's what kind of 5-year-olds do you know?"
Yeah.
I don't know what deeper. Yeah, like could not like Tim was trying to pull him back a little bit, like
Yeah.
could not do it. Good, but I will say one thing about his speaking style. Like, given the academicness of it, there was plenty of moments when I found myself like leaning in to listen. Like there was something about
Yes.
the way that he was talking was pretty engaging, which is I thought was quite unique for somebody who otherwise I feel like I would easily tuned out.
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to the last bit yet either. That the Paul.
Mm.
Hey, welcome back to our weekly This Week in Podcasts show, where we talk about the latest podcasts that we've been listening to.
How's it going, Jonathan?
Going well. How are you guys? What podcast was that, since I came in at the tail end of it?
The John, was it, what do you have? John Vervaeke, Tim
Yeah.
Ferriss?
Tim Ferriss's podcast with John Vervaeke. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check it out.
Generated some good discussion, at least.
Yeah.
How's it going, Andrew?
Hey, I joined one of the sessions a while ago, and I just started a new job yesterday, so I'm pretty busy, pretty like information overloaded. But the last time I joined, it was cool. So
What's a new job? Congrats.
it's yeah, I'm really excited. It's a company called levitatemedia.com. So they produce live and animated videos, and I am not a creative background, but I've worked in sales for 10 years, and I know how like awesome, cool videos are for a sales team, for B2B use case, for B2B, for B2C, etc. And yeah, they just work with some awesome brands. And prior to this, I was a consultant, and their sales process and their sales engine was broken. So I've been working with their CEO and founder since December to like on a sales consulting project, and then they just hired me, which is cool.
Great. Congrats, dude.
And I'm excited that I'm being hired as an individual contributor, not as like the VP, or I'm kind of like underemployed in a way that like I'll be able to do some fun stuff, which I'm really looking forward to, because being a consultant, juggling 4 to 5 projects was really hard, where now I'm going to be like a sales rep. So it's going to be a lot of fun. And I built the sales process. I built their new sales process, and I just get to do it. So I'm pretty excited.
You know how it works. That's great. You know what you're getting yourself in for.
Yeah. So I have to deliver, but yeah. So.
That's amazing. Congrats, man.
Thank you.
Is that when I loaded up their website, for whatever reason, I thought that was like Avatar. But
yeah, I have to find it. It's a video game. So they did like a live shoot for a video game company. And I'm not a video game player, but maybe people will know it. I'll try to find it.
what's going on, Roxine? Nice to see you. Oh yeah, 10:15. That's great. We should maybe we should get this going.
Yeah. Let's talk about what we're here to talk about.
Um,
All right, so we're pretty close to launching the beta, I think. Nate designed the beta landing page, partly in last week's session and partly in the intervening time, and I have been trying to design it. You can see if we put a link to the Figma in the chat. Let's do that. There we go. For those who want to follow along in there, I put the classic what Nate designed and what Tom made a 1-2 punch in Figma to see how close I'm lining up. I'm still definitely a work in progress, so I'm still trying to finagle this stuff. And for context, some of this is also like I'm used to designing using like some CSS frameworks that like do auto spacing and things. So I'm not really trying to like copy pixel perfect Nate's design. Sorry, Nate. But more so trying to like move quickly and get this thing done. So there's definitely a tension there between what Nate's got and what I've got. And it's not finished yet, but I love the copy. That phrase you wrote, Nate, the modern professional playground requires new skills. I really love that. I think it's like really gets to that idea. And yeah, you've got this great visual aesthetic of like obstacle courses and playgrounds emerging. Nate, maybe you can talk a bit more about that.
yeah, I think Tom and I, well, Tom, 2 weeks ago, I think you wrote the newsletter and it was referencing some. Can you maybe speak to that? Because like it was referencing obstacles as a way of learning, and I can't remember who you referenced, but this idea of playfulness and playground. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a guy called Gary Chu, who I'm gonna link it up in the it was the newsletter that I wrote about Bezier butts, which is one of my favorite. But yeah, there's a guy Gary Chu who runs used to run this course called Post-Industrial Design. And they have this great concept in there about obstacle courses, which is really just about designing learning experiences which feel like obstacle courses, right? It's basically like, we're not going to tell you what to do. Instead, we're going to give you a maze and you have to get through the maze, and we're here to help. But it gives this great kind of like, there is no learning except by doing vibe. And in the post-industrial design thing that Gary and Christina used to run, the goal was by the end of this program, so they're teaching design students, right, entrepreneurship skills. By the end of the program, you launch Kickstarter and you have to make $1,000, and it can't be like services. So it can't be selling like consulting work or whatever, right? So you have to like do a thing or make a thing, and you have to raise $1,000 on Kickstarter. And what's great about it is it just like it's a very simple target, but it forces you to learn all of these things about like how to build an audience and how to package things and how to launch things, and how to ask favors from your community, and how to make something that people even want in the first place, and how to research that, and like how to figure out pricing. And like there's all of these things that you could kind of learn in a very formulaic, like, here's how to launch a project 101 by Gary Chu. And instead they're just like, nope, here's the maze, here's the cheese, let's go. So that kind of vibe of obstacle courses is, I think, perfect for Figma thinkers, right? Perfect for this Figma thing, which is, learning Figma itself is like actually not that hard, right? In a sense, it's much more about like, hey, let's make it fun and interesting and motivate you to actually go through and learn the things. And so that was kind of the riff that I put in the newsletter, and then Nate really kind of picked that up and ran with it with this the beginnings of this, both the language, the modern professional playground requires new skills, and the visual aesthetic of this this little kind of obstacle course diagram icon thing, which I think is like super cool. And then we were just riffing in DMs last night about Zelda, and kind of feeling like it was okay. There's some I think there's some fun quests we can design as you go through the course, which I think could be really fun. So I'm excited to kind of bring that to life a little bit.
Yeah, it's super nascent. We're not really sure exactly where it's going to go yet, but I think if we're kind of trying to approach a like let's say you're building a website or a slide deck, like if we could make that somewhat of an obstacle course into like how you use the tools and actually put the thing together, you can kind of have fun with it and apply the learning directly, kind of wrapped in this idea of a course. So these little diagrams that we were kind of creating are just very early, but this is kind of how we're thinking about these building blocks. And yeah, maybe it's, I don't know, maybe there's like some motif here that's kind of interesting. So, and then down below, we have kind of just the basic outline of what this beta cohort could be like. It's maybe a 4-week thing, 2 times a week. And we have live instruction one day, and then either kind of Q&A studio session or just, excuse me, and some sort of like Q&A or revealing your projects, kind of show and tell, getting feedback, working through problems. And so we're teaching and then kind of like reviewing and doing in the same week, and then doing that for 4 weeks. Yeah, I guess it'd be kind of cool to get some input in terms of like, how does that feel?
Would you sign up based on this landing page? No pressure.
I'll raise my my chat point that I had there is like to your point about like the Zelda maze, right? Is like, what is my, you know, like Hyrule shield and like the Master Sword that I get along the way, right? So it's like you're telling me the what, and I want to know the so what, right? Maybe it's like an actual component of the tool itself, or maybe it's like even if it was just like you will be able to like design something in the same vein, or at least with the same ideas as like what Nate just did here. Cause I'm like, this is so beautiful. And my Google Docs look terrible. I wish I was as Nate Cadillac every week. I do. But I'm like, that's what I want, right? It's like, I don't know how to present that artifact. What is that artifact? I don't know.
We talked about in a previous week this idea of like a personal design file or design system, which is a little bit of a loose concept, but I think we could nail it down into one of 2 things, which is either a actual design system, right? So for folks that have their own website or their own brand in whatever sense, it's like, okay, here are the fonts and here are the colors. That's all in a file and like nicely packaged, and like that feels like a tangible outcome of the course. Or for people that don't have a personal brand but are still spending time in Figma, it can be a kind of like a Swiss Army toolbox of things to reuse. Like, oh, here's my presentation template. So I'm going to do a presentation, I'm going to grab that framework, and so I'm not starting from scratch. Or here's my slide diagram library, or here are a collection of nice little hand-drawn arrows that I can just grab and copy and paste. Like that's the kind of way that I use Figma a lot, is less for the kind of like formal design system and more of a, I don't want to start from scratch, right? So it's like if I'm doing a if I need to do like a diagram, it's like, great, here are some arrows that I've got somewhere else that I can like copy and paste, right?
So what you just
by like an artifact.
Well, I think what's even more interesting, Tom, what you just gave me is like, so like in the Zelda metaphor, right? I'm already the character, and like I can only be one character, but I can maybe get like an artifact in the game that makes me enjoy that character. What you just described is, I think, a whole other dynamic, which is, I think, great for this persona, which is like the Super Smash Brothers. Like, I want to unlock the Tom Critchlow character that can think and operate like that. And I think just like calling out that artifact as a character that I could inhabit, like that's also powerful. So like, however you take that artifact idea, whether it's me unlocking the character and the like the process that's not as nailed down, but is more a way of thinking. I think either way is super powerful. It's just having that clarity there of, is this Super Smash Bros. And I'm unlocking a couple different persona things that I could experience, or is it more like I'm getting an artifact that I'm going to plug into my existing flow?
Yeah.
Roxine has some good too. Because I think part of like a design system is having kind of like Tom was saying, you have your elements, your small sort of artifacts that you can use in a bunch of different things. So if it's Stephen, you're using this for your own projects, or Andrew's using it for his new job, you kind of have your own set of parts that are contained in your box that you can kind of like use in a bunch of different ways. So whether it's icons that you've created in Figma, illustrations, colors, type, all of that stuff. And to Roxine's point, like, yeah, I do teach a lot of this, making personalized design decisions and approachable design. Where I'm trying to sort of like maneuver that a little bit, but I think a design kit in some ways is kind of like really useful, even if it's not fully personalized.
Yeah, we'd even talked at one point about having a couple off-the-shelf ones that you could grab, like so everyone's like we have like 5 or 6 like pre-built ones, and you can do your own as well. But for the whole course, you pick one. So like like all the way through the course, you know, Steve, like you are the pink blob, right? Or like whatever. And then it just creates that kind of consistency all the way through, which I think could be cute and nice.
What,
Yeah, I think if you explicitly say that those things in the landing page, right, that's the difference between me pushing the buy button and not.
Mm-hmm.
what if we had a like a like not templatized necessarily, but it's like a kit full a kit of parts essentially that's kind of bland, and it's given to you at the outset, and it's up to you to kind of customize this over the course, and then you
Like
make
Legos, kind of like Legos, where you
yeah,
can, like,
exactly. You're stacking Legos, but you kind of start off with like a you know, like a system, a design. This is what designers call it, is like design systems for companies and things like that. But if you had this, and then it was just up to you to like kind of customize that over the 4 weeks. But
Yeah,
as you use it, you're reusing it, updating it. You know, maybe you're building a slide deck, you know, sales deck or something, Andrew. Maybe you're building out a website, but you're kind of like reusing these parts, and it grows with you over the 4 weeks. But we gave you kind of like you know, all the parts. You know, you just have to like personalize it to yourself.
So I
That's
think
interesting.
one thing that, in my mind, the like need for design systems is not immediately apparent to somebody who's on the outside. So but I think you can get there pretty quickly. I think you could say one of the superpowers of Figma is that you can use what's called a design system, so that instead of having to rebuild every slide from scratch, every document from scratch, you can just pull in these pieces that you've already created and make everything faster. We will help you build a design system so that you can make every single one of your documents and presentations super fast and super consistent every time. So I think in some ways you would have to like sell what a design system is, because I don't think like somebody coming to this page is thinking like, oh, I need a design system. But it's crazy powerful. Like it's an amazing thing to have, as you guys know. But I think I'm just assuming that if somebody like doesn't really know what Figma is or how it works, like that's not a like, gosh, I really hope that I get a design system out of this.
I think you hit the nail on the head. That phrase "work faster," I think, is like super key. Like helping people feel like they can like move at the speed of thought, work at the speed of thought. Like that's like now we're cooking. Because that's like really like when you first open a Figma file, it's the opposite. It's like oh, so much to do. This big thing to overcome. Then once you're like, it's like skiing. Once you're on the, sorry, I just went skiing last week. Once you're on the downhill, it's like, oh, now we're cooking on gas. Like it's like now I can go much faster than I could before. You know, yeah.
Tom's got a whole new language to pull from now.
Climb over the obstacle, then ski down.
Yeah. So we're doing a skiing obstacle course, right? Yeah. It's true. Anyone else want to chime in on why they would or will not purchase the course based on this landing page?
Well, I guess I'll just say part of the reason I was saying all that is that the master of the art of persuasive visual thinking is really interesting, but I don't know if it's compelling. Like I would want to learn more about that, but that doesn't like hook me in a way that's like, man, I need to buy this like right away. So I'm not sure if that would be, honestly, because as you go through it, like I think this like stop relying on a friend is pretty powerful. Like, you know, like so something that is a little bit closer to the heart or like is closer to the problem, I think would kind of set the frame for me that would, by the time I get through all of it, I'm really hooked. But like, you know, persuasive visual thinking is like a industry description or like a conceptual description more so than like a specific user description in my mind.
All right, we're gonna do something fun. We're gonna use Figma. That's what I'm gonna do.
We're not being clear enough.
Well, here's what we're gonna do, guys. Okay. Gonna make a bunch of these little headers. Everyone's gonna grab one, and they're gonna rewrite the copy with a headline and text that works for them.
Oh, I like it.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's grab one.
Where do we grab it?
They're over on the right-hand side. If you, there's a bunch of them just over to the right that I've been.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. We're gonna do new headlines. All right.
Yeah,
cool.
just jam some copy in there. Doesn't have to be great. Just
All right, all right.
don't wordsmith it. Don't get cute with it. Just ram something like obvious and stuff in there that like, yeah.
Hey, Mary. Hey, Caitlin.
Hey,
So we are, let me copy this here. We're all attempting to rewrite the header copy of our new landing page. And you can use that link to get into the Figma file. Basically, does this make sense? Is it clear or unclear? And if be curious to maybe have you rewrite it in a way that it speaks to what you would want to get out of a course like this.
I put it in a comment for frame 70. I don't know how to change the text. I don't know if anyone can see it.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's see. Andrew can edit. There you go. You should be able to edit it now. Sorry, Roxine and Mary. You can now destroy our document.
should I use frame 71 or?
Sure.
Go for it. Grab one.
Okay.
If you grab a frame and then I'm on a Mac keyboard, I hit Alt or Option key and then drag it, it just creates a copy of it. So if you see one you like, just grab a frame, hit Option and drag it. You'll make a new version. Look at us sneakily teaching you how to use Figma. It's a lot of speed vibes coming up in these. I think is good. I think that's a key aspect.
Jonathan, yours is similar to mine.
Which one is yours, Snake?
Oh, the last one on the right.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I tried editing the text, but it didn't actually change the text. I think I'm in the right spot
Where are you, Mary?
in frame
here?
75.
Okay. If you double click and then keep double clicking until you can select the text.
I must be in the comment. Should I switch to the hand?
Yeah, so click the hit your escape key.
Okay.
And then now try again. Is that working?
Oops. I think I just deleted it. I was editing it over in the left-hand side. In the
One thing you can do, Mary, is or try this at least, is use the command key and then click on the text. It'll like actually select the text without having to double click into it. But you'll still have to double click it, but you kind of like get to that layer right away.
oh, okay.
There you
That
go.
kind of seems to work. I was expecting it to change. Like there's a little T over on the left. I see this panel, this white panel on the left,
Mhm.
and there's like a T, and it had something. But is that the name of the text box and not the text within it? Maybe I'm not explaining myself.
Yeah, yes, I think you're exactly right, Mary. The frame over on the left, I think, defaults to the text that's in it. But if you double click and change it, I don't think it changes the text inside the
Yeah.
actual box.
Okay.
That just renames that layer. So the things on the left are the layers, the frames and the layers, and you can name them, right? So if you see where it says frame 75, if you
Yeah.
double click that, and then you can type in there, that is actually renaming that layer. So yeah,
Okay.
so you see that layer now says Mary, and then that changes on the left-hand side too. But for a text box, it defaults to the same text, but you can also name it explicitly as a layer.
Okay, thanks.
A little confusing, but you got it.
Thanks.
Yeah, I almost want to take all these headlines and just make them the bullet points under like we make one headline, and then just like each of these is like really the key points. It's like work without a designer, work faster, collaborate better. Like these are the punches, right?
I like the simplicity of create visual assets without a designer. I don't know if that's enough, but I always get stuck on how everybody else speaks to like visual assets. Like, is that like a thing that you all like that people say, or is that just me? Like, what do you call like a I'm trying to think of like a graphic. Like what would you call like a graphic you'd put in a slide deck?
Personally, I would call it like a diagram, something like that. An asset at least in my mind is something that's more like going to live on a like a visual asset is like something's going on a YouTube banner or a web page, landing page or something. Like a visual asset feels kind of polished and finished, rather than like a work object, which is more like something that's going to sit inside a PowerPoint slide or something.
Yeah. Roxane calls them all graphics. It's good to know.
Okay.
You shared Paul's stuff. I don't know if I've read this one by Paul. visuals. Yeah.
Creation at the speed of inspiration. It's good. I love it.
Learn to design, create, and ship visually quickly. It's right to the point, which I kind of like.
Unlock design superpowers. Unlock is a good word there.
Mhm.
Unlock design. Yeah, like I like this idea that's like there's a designer inside you. You just got to let it out.
Mhm.
Everyone can do it. It's just we're gonna
Right.
help. We're gonna
Right.
help find the. Yeah, that's good.
Well, I think one of my assumptions is just generally that when you're telling people about this, kind of the broad hook is learn Figma, right? I guess. So I think people probably know what Figma is. I guess that I'm trying to like get into the headspace of who the like ideal customer is, but I think it's probably somebody who's like generally aware of Figma, but just like hasn't been able to get into it. Is that, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
I think
but
I think the magic for this landing page and for the positioning for the course is to go from something that feels like a kind of nice to have or a utility
mhm,
to something that feels like a kind of aspirational frame, right? So like it's not like, you know, it's not actually about teaching you how to use Figma, because you can learn that in lots of different ways. And it's a bit more about become a different kind of worker,
mm,
right? Like that process of becoming, I think, is
yeah.
the thing that's going to turn somebody from being like, this looks like a nice course, to like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Like I want to be somebody new.
Yeah.
Like I think about Rite of Passage a lot, that David Perel course, where it's like, it isn't about like write better words. It's about becoming a writer, becoming someone who writes. Right?
Yeah.
Like that's the real transformation.
Yeah, and I think that transformation is hard to communicate sometimes because like we're not trying to teach people to become designers. And so is there a word for what that transformation is?
Maybe giving everyone design skills or giving everyone Figma skills.
Yeah, there's like a little part of me that when I talk about design, like I'm like, is it that we're like giving people design skills? I guess we are. But I also don't want to like overpromise, like say you'll become a designer or something. So like,
I think again, I don't know how to say it, but I think the transformation is a work in new ways. Like you'll have a new kind of way of like any problem you're working on, you'll have one new way of dealing with it, tackling it. Like,
yeah.
So I don't know who Frame 71 is, but you know, mastered the art of persuasive visual thinking. I think that is really good. I was actually thinking maybe even collapsing it one step further and saying master the art of visual persuasion. Because at some level, like you want, I don't know, like I think thinking is probably more accurate in terms of what is being practically developed. But if I'm coming to this, like, what do I want to be able to do? I think, you know, kind of influence, persuasion, like the ability to build a deck or a website or some kind of, you know, visual asset that convinces other people visually seems like it could be a hook.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's mine. I can't even remember. But I think you're right. Like, I mean, what was going through my head when I wrote that was Figma's a tool. It's not like Tom said, we're not trying to like, make this all about Figma, but it is a tool to do something. And in my mind, it's like, if you're sales, you need to persuade. If you're a product manager, you need to persuade. And all of these roles, you're really trying to persuade and own kind of like, how can I best persuade someone? And using visuals is, yes, everyone's in sales. But visuals is a great way to do that, or being able to prototype out something so it's not just stuck in your head, right? And so I think it is about persuasion. Whether that's the right way to say it, I don't know, but especially if you're a consultant, you're doing a lot of different things and you're trying to persuade. And so, yeah, Andrew's right.
Yeah, communicating your ideas, persuading people, like, I think those are spot on. They're also just like slightly clunky words. Yeah. Communicating.
You guys are giving me an idea to like do a course of like everyone's in sales and just like help people with like basic sales stuff. Yeah, this is cool.
Sales for non-sales,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what is it, Daniel Pink, who's like to sell is human. Yeah, it's like a sales book for non-sales people because everyone's in sales.
We've got a whole franchise here. Figma for non-designers, sales for non-sales people. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, Caitlin says.
And a lot of the stuff on LinkedIn is bullshit. So gotta watch out about sales.
Caitlin, I don't know if you came in here when we were kind of going over the landing page, but were you able to see sort of what we designed here, and what stood out to you to say that? Or is it?
Oh, well, because I'm, for those of you who don't know me, I worked with Nate previously, and I'm currently trying to start up my own consulting business, startup consulting stuff. And one of the things I'm certainly struggling with is my ability to sell myself and like how to market myself and hold people accountable and all that. So there's lots of things that I'm learning that I didn't know I needed to know, such as Figma, which is why I'm also here.
Great. I love hearing about people who are starting out on their consulting journeys.
I'm trying working with non-startups too, from someone who's consulted with a lot of startups.
Yeah, sure.
It's
what else do we want to get out of this session, Nate? Where else should we direct our attentions?
Well, one thing that was on my mind was the curriculum for maybe the first week.
Yep.
And to kind of think through like, okay, so we're thinking maybe 90 minutes twice a week. Everything's very loose, but
yep.
What are the types of things that we should kind of think about teaching? Like what are these obstacle courses that we're I think we have a loose idea of what that is, but it's still pretty loose in my mind.
One thought I had was in the spirit of these obstacle courses, right? So in the first week, we had the project was going to be make a visual asset, right? Whether it was like a LinkedIn banner or something, right? Something kind of like that everyone has. And I almost wonder if you could structure the first week around like making like 4 things, right? Like you make a poster, you make a LinkedIn header, and you make like one other thing, and we design those things in a way such that like each of them contains all the skills we want to teach, like Figma basics, right? So it's like one of them has text layout and all that kind of stuff. One of them has logo, maybe, yeah, like one of them has like shapes and things like that. And one of them has like, what else do we want to teach in the first week? Like, what do we want? What else we got? I was like looking at the interface, like frames, prototypes, layers, shapes, text. The Bezier tool is probably not for week 1. Components, that's week 1, maybe.
I'll probably take that one off. Probably let's see here. Well, what did you think about like the idea of having like a kit, you know, or a system that we provide, and then part of it is actually like walking through that a little bit and modifying it. We maybe can touch on that each week if we wanted to, but you get to kind of see how things relate to other things. So you're talking a little like loosely about components. You're not trying to like go deep dive into it week one, but you're bringing these ideas up that we are going to talk about later in the course.
Yeah, I mean, I love the way that like if we get straight into the kit, I feel like people are going to lean in, right? Like that's going to be an immediate like, oh, cool. I've instantly like just joined this course and I've already got something cool. Like I already feel like I can do something. Like that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
For some reason, I like the idea of like a poster or like an album cover as like just a kind of a fun creative exercise. It's like obviously low stakes, but it teaches you like some layouts and like bits and pieces like that. Or actually, that's actually working with images is probably something that we should do there, right? So like that's where the poster or an album cover can come in for like, you know, find an unsplash photo of, you know, whatever, blah blah blah, put some text on top of it, you know, like that's a good kind of like little creative exercise to be like, here's an album cover for a band that I'm not a part of.
Does that resonate with everybody? Or what
Yeah.
you sound kind of like, don't really care.
I think it's like a little bit meh if I'm reading the room, just because nobody actually wants an album cover or a poster.
Yeah.
I think that's why the LinkedIn banner was an interesting idea for me. It was just like, you might not care a lot about your LinkedIn header, but like everyone has one. And once you've got it, you can jam it up there and it's something that you made, but it's like also out in the world. Like even like it's dumb, but it's like a LinkedIn carousel template or like a, you know, an open graph image. Like maybe we have a little pool of these of like, depending on what you have, if you have a Substack or a website or a newsletter or or you're posting on LinkedIn or like whatever you're doing, is something that you can make. But I do think that we want to design these in a way that they kind of cover off a lot of the things you need to know. So like we have to have something that has text in it, right? So that you can learn about text layout.
I think the text and photos is really, really key. And maybe we could do that with LinkedIn banner, like a slide deck, you know, something where it's, or just another artifact that we can use socially. And I think you're kind of covering the same things as a poster and album cover would.
Yep. The other thing that I was thinking of getting everyone to design was like we make a little what do you call it, like profile card for everybody, and they have to like make a copy and fill it out themselves. Which is just a little, again, it's not to be shared anywhere, but it's just a little creative exercise to like literally go from 0 to 1. Like, hey, cool, now you copied as, now you put your own image in there, you put your own text in there. Cool.
Like do you have an example of that? What would be
like I'm just gonna Google like Figma profile template. Like, let's see.
So I kind of thought the idea of a poster is cool, and like I had an idea for something to make right away, but I find that intimidating. I would be afraid, like if that was the first project, I would be like, oh my gosh, that's going to be hard. I'm not sure that I would want to be doing something that I was planning to use like as a LinkedIn background. But I'll say, I think combining a couple of these things on my team at work, everybody had made these like personal posters in Figma and they were like, oh, just grab a frame and do it, Mary. And I was like, Oh, I don't know what a frame is, so I'm gonna not do that. But so yeah, I think it's a cross between the poster and the profile card. Yeah, just throwing it out there. I'm easily intimidated by trying to do visual things.
Mary, what's your role?
I'm a UX researcher.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, maybe there's like a mood board. We could also maybe have a few of these that people could pick from. So maybe we're not doing every single one, but we're kind of like, hey, here's a list of things that you could potentially design in the first week. We'll go over all of the essentials and kind of how to like set these up, but maybe you pick 2 or something like that.
Yeah, I think having a few little options, like where you can grab something that you're most interested in, would be cool. I mean, that's also more work for us to prep it, but I just this is not quite the right thing, but this is like a user persona template kit I just found. I just pasted it into the Figma, but you know, it's like something a little bit like this, where it's like, you know, come grab one of these. You're obviously not going to like rate yourself on different traits and stuff, but like a more basic version of this, but like everyone can grab it. They put their own profile photo in there. They change the about section, and like this is also good for us to like. We should have on this slide like, what do you want to get out of the course? Like, what, you know, like we can use this also as like a good grounding for like intention setting. I think, and to your point, I think it was Mary. You know, it's like, yes, like maybe this is already intimidating as a first step, but it's like, that's explicitly what this course is about. So like, we're here to help. Like, I think giving enough space for people to be like, it's okay if you feel stuck straight away, just try it out, call us over, like, you know, or actually maybe even doing it in groups, like have people break out into like little groups of 3 or something, and help each other out as you get stuck.
Yeah, that's a great idea. How much of the like, let's say Monday session is like hands-on?
I think so I'll let everyone else chime in as well. I think my perception of it is like, I think almost all of the instruction should be quite hands-on, but I think it's really important that every week has a dose of inspiration. So like, I think it's really important for you and I, Nate, to kind of show what's possible, like both on the design side and in the like, you know, I use Figma all the time for like real consulting work. And I think like showing those things is really important for people to like, again, it's not as much about teaching you how to use Figma as much as like getting you inspired of like how you might want to use Figma, right? Like, I think that's the real strength. And so I think we should start each session probably with a little bit of like, yeah, here's how Nate uses Figma, here's how I use Figma. Now let's dive in and do it together. Let's teach you how to teach you, you know, start from the beginning, get you to that end point. But I think showing the end point first is useful.
A lot of digging to do. Okay, so then that's all pretty straightforward. Are we still hoping to have alongside this like a capstone project or something that, you know, people will be kind of working towards throughout the 4 weeks, or what do you think about that?
Open that up to everyone else. What does everyone else think?
I would say having a concrete takeaway from the course would be a good proof point, and help to really like cement the value of the whole experience, because there's a very clear before and after in addition to just the learning and transformation. So I think a capstone would be great.
Yeah, I haven't done the rite of passage or the David Perel courses, but I'm pretty sure he requires like everyone who does those courses has to ship work. So that could be a good like requirement.
Yeah, I took a rite of passage myself, and it's not a requirement, but it is highly encouraged.
Cool.
I think a lot of people are gonna. I think a lot of the kinds of people that are going to come into this course are going to be quite self-motivated, and they're going to have something pretty concrete in mind they want help with. And so I think choosing a capstone project and having that in week 4, I think is going to be good. I think it also speaks to that kind of obstacle course perspective, right? Of like, there's no learning without a goal in mind. Like, we're not just abstractly trying to teach you Figma. It's like,
I love the idea of shipping or something. No. Logos, Caitlin?
Right? Not speaking selfishly at all. I'm actually thinking that if we just record how Nate navigates through Figma, like as he's doing this, and be like, this is what you're going to be able to do at the end of the course, is just be able to grab and move things and know how to do it.
That'll pay. That'll we get your money's worth if you can just do that.
So yeah, I told you I needed help selling.
What do you think about logos, Tom? Like, not as a whole like expressive experience of like, hey, this is, but like modifying type, could be, kind of an interesting thing, but kind of deviates a little.
I think logos are a little bit of a rabbit hole because they're so hard. And I worry that the problem with a logo is you hate it until it's right. And so it's not a very rewarding experience trying to do a logo, I feel like. I think the only counterpoint to that would be if we entirely de-risk it to be like, make a logo for a fake business, right? Or like make a logo for like this band that we just made up. Like, then maybe it's a bit more fun and playful and like low stakes, but anything that is like somewhat real, sorry, my kid's picking his nose on the video. Anything that's like somewhat real is like, logos are hard. Logos are just hard. Yeah, I mean, maybe I just struggle with them greatly. I guess
you're making me feel much better, Tom, that they're challenging, because that's part of the thing that I've been challenged with. And I think, Nate, in the end, like when I think of logo, like I look at the other things you have up here and like the images, icons, like Mary said, like more like that's more of what I was thinking of when I said logo, was more about kind of those different pieces that make up a logo.
Yeah, like the little icons that you made for each of the weeks on the landing page, Nate, like I'm super jealous of that. Like I can't do that.
Oh, we could easily
so like creating little icons, I think would be really powerful if I could learn how to do that kind of thing.
Okay, let's just put that.
Because I think the key thing here is that a logo is identity based, and so it's really hard to get it right. I think an icon like really lowers that expectation.
Yep. Okay. All right. I'm gonna have to jump off a few minutes early here.
Yep, I gotta go to deal with this one.
Last thoughts here. Is there anything that's just someone wants to see happen here in week 1 that we don't have? Thanks, Andrew. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll be sending out a newsletter, and we'll see you maybe next week. All right, see you everyone. Thanks.
This was great. Thanks everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.